Good day, ladies and gents. Here is a cheap way, super cheap way of assembling a luggage rack for a naked or sport bike. I got a request from a friend to give a rundown of the setup, but I figured I'd put it together for anyone riding a naked or a sport bike because it'll apply to just about anyone. This is specific for a Triumph Street Triple. But again, if you're riding a naked or a sport bike, you've got a similar setup with the way the seat layout is with the passenger pegs and so on. So it's sort of a general, but this one specific is set up for my Triumph Street Triple. So here we go. All I did, I assembled this seat. Is kind of what it's kind of what it doubles as. It's three pieces of lumber, 6 inch wide spruce that I put together kind of like a seat with just two straps that are going to hold this thing down. These straps loop around the passenger pegs, and I've got these two eye hooks here that press against the back of the seat, and they act as a cradle. There's a lot of pressure on these things once it gets strapped down with these straps. That keeps the whole thing in place. So there's two benefits. One, it was super cheap, just one piece of lumber, which it may have been 4 or 6 feet long when I bought it, and then I cut it into three pieces, threw some brackets on there, some long screws, and it's down pretty tight. And the other convenience is that it just takes two straps to hold the whole thing down. At the end of the day, when you're done and you want to take it off, you release two straps, pick it up, and go. Makes for super quick assembly and disassembly. For me, I'm doing this personally because I'm doing a 3,500K trip in August out to Vancouver Island from northern Alberta. So it's going to come in handy for me for those long days when by the time I get to my room or my hotel, all I've got to do is release two quick straps, bring the whole thing upstairs, and then when it's time to go in the morning, it's just throw it over like a saddle, hook up two straps, and you're gone again. Now, I did this trip last year. I did a similar one down to Missoula, Montana. And I strapped these three bags with a whole bunch of strapping. I strapped it down like you'd strap gear to a boat, and it did the job. But at the end of the day, it was such a pain in the ass to unhook and then next morning to hook it all back up again. Hooking it all back up again next morning was a 20-minute job. So I wanted to avoid all that and throw it all into one simple package with some add-ons like the bottles. I carried the bottles last year, but I carried them in these side pockets. Now I can carry them on the back, and now I've got extra room here. I packed for an 8-day trip last year, and everything was cinched. I didn't have any room for souvenirs or even an extra T-shirt. Everything was jam-packed. That included rain gear. So by throwing those two bottles in the back, I gained an extra pouch. So I reconfigured the whole thing packing-wise. Anyway, the way this thing goes on is again real simple. It's just two straps, which are just run through these holes. Now these are cam buckle straps. There's no hooks or anything attached to these. It basically loops back into itself. With hooks, if you get any slack at all, it's a little spooky because that hook can pop off and then your bag goes flying. So I threw these cam buckles in because you can tighten them, and they're just looped into themselves, so they can't unhook from anything anywhere. It's real versatile. I've got a couple extra of these in the bag in case one of them breaks or wears down. Everything else for assembly of the bags onto the horseshoe, onto the seat. For this guy, this is a Tourmaster bag, but it was real specific mounting-wise. There's actually a rack you can buy, and this thing mounts to the rack. But it was the cheapest bag I could find at the time, so I just figured I'd get it and then find a way to tie it down. What I did with this thing was just tied it down here, here, and there's some Velcro straps underneath here that I also ran. So you can see actually two laces here. One is the one that's thrown over the top, and then the second one in here is just one that's ran through those straps at the bottom. So that's all that's holding that bag down. Now for the side saddle bags, which if you recognize these, it's because they're actually tank bags. Moose Utility makes tank bags with a whole assembly that can go over the tank of an adventure motorcycle. This was the cheapest sort of saddlebag that I could find, so I picked these up a couple of years ago for, I don't know what they were, dirt cheap. They were probably on sale, but I was going on a budget with everything, so I threw away the tank assembly piece and just kind of strapped them into each other. In this case, they are looped together, and I actually stapled them down to the board, so they're not going anywhere either. They've got a couple of Velcro stickies in here that'll keep them pressed to the boards, pressed to the seat, I call it. And yeah, that's not going to go anywhere. So it's a real easy hookup. And you're saying, why just staple the straps to the board? Because they're not going anywhere else. I've got no reason to unstrap them. There's no reason why I need to take these off ever. So the whole thing is set up to be a long-term, what you see is what you get kind of thing. Now for assembling it onto the bike, here it is. It's a 2016 Triumph Street Triple R, and it's just got those two eye hooks that are going to hug here and here on the seat, and the whole thing is going to be pressed down because of the position of those two side straps. It's going to apply pressure this way. When those straps go on, which are going to be tied here and on the other side, the whole seat or the whole system is going to be pulled into here. So again, with those two eye hooks in the corners, it's not going anywhere.